Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start it with my hubby because we have some crazy news.
Yes. It's a surprise.
Yeah, so as you can see by the title, we are moving and this is so crazy. We're actually kind of nervous making this video because it's just been something that God's been working in us, through us, like for the last, what?
2 years, right? Like a year and a half?
Yeah, 2 years. It's about to be 2 years.
Yeah.
That all this has been going down and now we can freely talk about it. So it's kind of crazy.
Well, not the moment that we're filming this video, but when the video comes out, we can freely talk about it.
By the time this is released, everyone will already know. So we kind of just wanted to give you guys the breakdown, a little bit of the outline on how this came to be, and just take it from there, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like excited we are.
So sit back, get relaxed, because it's about to be a long story.
It's gonna get a little chatty. Give me popcorn, right?
So I kind of want to give like more space for my husband to speak. And I want this to really portray who we are, not so much of a formal video. It's just more cash, because obviously it's something that's happening in both of our lives, super important. So I want you guys to hear his perspective on it too. And let's just jump right in, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, the reason that we said 2 years is because January of 2020, legit beginning of the year, I remember I had just came back from a conference, Jesus 19,
which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it changed my life. And all of a sudden, like, I can't explain it, I just started feeling like a tug on my heart and almost like I didn't belong where I was. I remember that I kept like praying about it. I'm like, God, like, why do I feel like out of place? I don't belong, something like. And I remember I even spoke to my pastor about it in a meeting that we had in the discipleship. And I was saying, I was like, all of a sudden, you know, I'm feeling like I don't belong. And he was like, look, we're covering you in prayer, and if the Lord leads you somewhere, you know, then of course we're gonna bless it, you know. And it's so funny because I still had no idea, nothing, like God hadn't put anything in my heart. It was just that tug, that weird feeling. So just like a little bit of background, so we have been leaders, so we've been leaders at my parents' church, which is definitely a important detail. For the last, probably since we started, I've been a leader, not really leader, but like kind of just serving and stuff. And then possibly maybe 8 years ago and 7 years ago, I became a leader. She became a leader 9 years ago. And then, so this is a very big news. Yeah, really huge news for the church, for our families. Like, it's just the only way that we would move or do something crazy like this is if Jesus himself was speaking to us. Yeah. And you guys will see that without a shadow of a doubt, he was, you know. So going back, yeah, I started feeling that tug, and I remember that I started praying, and all of a sudden God started gearing me towards where it is that he actually wanted us. But a whole bunch of questions arose, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Like, like, we're faithful leaders in our church, like his parents are our pastors, I'm part of the family, legit. Exactly. You know, I'm like, how will this be? What do you mean out of state? Like, all these questions. And I was telling God, I'm like, okay, and I can see how that could maybe fall into my calling. Exactly. But I remember I was saying, I was like, but what about my husband's calling? Like, what do you have for him there if we were to do this? Because hello, we're one. It's not just about me. Yeah. You know, if God is gonna do something in my life, it's because it's for our life and it's to benefit both of us. Exactly. You know, so I'm like, okay, what is it? So I felt strongly from the Lord that I shouldn't say anything. And I told God, I was like, if this is from you, you're gonna reveal it to my husband on his own. Exactly. And I am the testimony, she did not tell me absolutely anything. So it was, yeah. It comes full circle, guys. Just wait till the end. Just follow with us. Follow with us. Keep eating the popcorn. All right, just keep eating it. Yeah. So Actually, the duration of the time that I didn't say anything was actually 10 months. 10 months, guys. Look, for those of you that know our history, we had a 7-year relationship before we got married, and now going through this season, I'm like, wow, God, you really developed our patience.
Yeah.
Like, we are very patient people, because I'm like 10 months without telling my husband like the craziest thing that's been happening in my heart,
like bubbling inside of you. And
yeah, like I just felt like I wanted to like explode, word vomit it, you know. And I'm like, and I can't talk about it with my best friend, my spouse, you know, every single day that I see.
Yeah.
So I would journal a lot and write down everything, and in that process I would meet with certain people. We gathered in some prayer groups, and I remember that like some significant moments that happened one time was that I walked into this house and the lady didn't know me personally. I was invited there by a friend, and the church that I felt like the Lord was calling me to was actually playing on YouTube.
Just happened to be playing, like,
yeah,
when you walk in.
Right when I walked in, and that person actually was playing a playlist, and I was just like, okay, whatever, like, you know, like, people listen to this church, like, I'm not gonna think anything of it. But I hadn't even sat down, and they were like, you're gonna be worshiping just like that. And I just, like, I remember I was like shocked like that, and someone else was like, oh, does that mean something to you? And then the lady quickly responded, no, that's between her and God. So another confirmation that I was not supposed to speak about it.
Exactly.
So I was just shook. And then another thing that happened a couple months later, we went
These are all the things that were happening between the time that she felt like I was speaking and then the 10 months before you told me anything. Before I came up to you and told you something.
Yeah, before he knew. Him and I spoke about
exactly.
it. Yeah, so then another time we went to like this worship event, and as soon as I got there, I could say where it is already, because
no, I think they have to wait. They have to wait.
So I got to the place, and mind you, anytime we go to any worship event, I'm super crazy about the time, and we always get there like 3 hours before. So there was nobody there. Nobody on the field, right? Remember, they were gonna go grab some coffees, him and our friend Isaac, and then it was me and my friend Carissa. Like, we walked like really close to the stage, and we were sitting down. And I remember I was recording a video for Instagram. I'm like, we just got here, oh my god, and some guy literally walks up to me. He goes, excuse me, and I'm like, hey. And I remember I stopped the video on Instagram, and then he was like, oh, I just landed here from blank
from the church.
From blank church.
Oh yeah.
He said the city, state, and the church. He's like, and I'm here to tell you. He's like, you're a worshiper, right? And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, the calling upon your life, like, God wants you to start writing songs. You can't even imagine where he's gonna take you, blah blah blah. Like, specific things that only Jesus and I knew, that this is a stranger to me. And the fact that he's like, I just got off the plane. I was like, whoa, like, I was legit shook. Yeah. And you know, fast forward to now, Carissa told me that was actually the moment that she knew that like God was gonna send us out. Yeah. But we just never talked about it.
So Carissa's one of her good friends.
Yeah.
Good context.
So yeah, I remember I went back and I told you, but once again, we didn't talk about anything. Yeah. I just said, oh, I'm like, he said he just came here from this, and look at this word that he had over my life. Exactly. Like, we didn't talk about like,
I didn't think anything about it.
Yeah, no significance on the location or anything. So we actually took a trip to this state. We took a trip to this state, and just a casual trip. I remember it was mid-pandemic, so there was like nothing there.
We just wanted to get out, like just take vacations. I mean, we were like, the pandemic is not gonna slow us down. Yeah,
and I had done nothing for my birthday, so I really wanted to go. And then when we went there, I remember that a man came up to us, and he goes, oh, how long are you guys here for? And we were like, oh no, we're just here for the weekend. He's like, oh, how long have you guys been a part of the church?
Yeah.
He said. And we're like, oh, we're just here for the weekend. And he goes, for some reason when I saw you guys, I felt like you guys were part of the foundation of the church. And I was like, what? Like, that's not something common that anyone would say. And I was just like, oh gosh, you know, I didn't say anything once again.
I just like brushed it off, like I didn't think anything. I was just like, oh, okay, maybe just because the way that we look.
Yeah. And in that weekend, God allowed us to connect with the community, and we actually hung out with them. It was crazy.
Yeah,
what happened. Yeah, we're not gonna get into all that, but fast forward, we come back. I think 2 or 3 months passed after that, and I remember I was sitting one day here on our bed.
No, it was like a month and a half that passed by, and then like, yeah, and then after, so God was just like putting that.
Yeah, say your perspective. Yeah. What happened in those 2 months?
Yeah, so after we came back, like, I just like.
You just said where?
Oh. So when we came back from this place, I was just like, God, is this like really what you're saying? And like, I'm one of those people that are very skeptical and like just question, and I don't like saying God said this, God said that, just because I want to make sure that when he speaks is actually him and not just like our emotions. So I was just like, man, like, what is this? Like, I feel this tug, like I feel this like bubbling inside of me that like it started to make me feel uncomfortable. Just like we're going to like normal meetings at church and services and stuff, just like not uncomfortable in the sense of like the church being bad, like that's not where we want to go. No, like it's completely opposite. It's just kind of like
it was doing something different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it was like the weirdest thing, because I'm just like, this is not supposed to happen. Like everyone just says, oh, you're supposed to take over, blah blah blah, after my dad, or you're supposed to be the youth pastor, youth leader, whatever. And just like, this is bubbling inside of me, so I didn't know how to like react. So I just basically was just praying and just like getting into his word and just like, God, if this is you, then like you would confirm it. And I was still questioning. I'm like, nah, this is not him. That's not him. That's not him.
Something very important that I want to say is that you started feeling connection to that pastor. Remember?
Oh yeah. So the pandemic, I was working from home. They sent everyone home around March of 2020, and I just was like, you know what? I need to start doing something active. So I started going on like runs, like a lot, like long runs, whatever. So I started long runs and just like hearing like words and stuff. And I just started like gravitating towards the pastor at this church, just like nonstop. Like every single time I ran, like just nonstop. I was just hearing his word and hearing his preachings over and over and over and over again.
And that's not like him. He listens to like, you know, anybody.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of preachers and stuff.
Yeah, so for him to be consistently listening to him, I remember that he would tell me of certain messages that he heard, and then remember, I'm going through this alone, so I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, like maybe he's feeling like some sort of like connection, like you know. And I'm like, okay, God, like, because remember, I was like, okay, how does this take play in his life and his calling,
exactly.
Like, you know. And you know, it's been said over his life many times that he's gonna preach, like that his words are valuable, like that God is gonna use him, that if he just opens his mouth, like he's gonna be speaking through him, you know. So his calling is more geared towards that. So I was like, wow, like when he started feeling this connection with his pastor, then he comes up to me that night.
So I come up to her, and just to avoid details, I just got out the shower, whatever, and I just told her, I'm like, babe, you won't believe this, like I'm feeling a tug.
No, you were like, I've been keeping something from
you. I made it super dramatic, guys. So I was like, I've been keeping something away from you, and I just can't do it anymore. And I'm like, it just made it super dramatic.
What are you hiding?
What are you hiding? So then I just tell her, I'm like, I've been feeling this tug, like God is transitioning us to, I don't know the exact words, but transitioning us to blank, 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 blank. After 10 months, so I tell her that, like,
and we talked to our pastors.
We talked to our pastors, everything like that. We went to our pastor and we're like, hey, look, this is what we've been feeling. You know, pray for us. We don't know where God is going to take us. Like, we just feeling this thing, but we want to make sure it's from God.
Something happened in December. I went to Jesus 20, and I remember that this person said that God put in his heart to like write certain notes for like a whole bunch of people, like 30 people. And there was 10 left, and there was 10 of us in the circle, like a prayer circle. And he was like, so just take a word. And one of the one that I got said, do you believe I can? And I was like, whoa, because obviously like in our nature, we start thinking, what about my job? What about like where I live? Like, I don't have anybody, you know, security, stability, like all the logic, human logic comes in when, you know, God is like just like turning your world upside down. So I kind of needed that little push. It said, do you believe I can? It's like true, because it's one thing to just talk about faith,
exactly,
and it's another thing to really step out and truly surrender.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that God has told us, like has taught us through this like transition period, is like all of our security is not found in like the things that we have. Like we feel so secure, we have jobs, we yeah, like 9-to-5 jobs, the corporate jobs, the beautiful jobs that everyone dreams about, or like, you know, people dream about. And we have an apartment here, even though we're renting, whatever, but we have everything we thought we needed. We were settled down.
Yeah.
Finally, we were able to get into a good space and everything, financially, spiritually, like but then God just has, you know,
other plans. For April, it was my birthday, and I did some traveling. We went to California, and then I went to this conference actually in North Carolina. And when I went there, he actually didn't go to that conference. Yeah. It was just a spontaneous conference that my friend invited me to and blessed me to go to. And mind you, North Carolina, there's nobody there that I know, like complete strangers. But God had a divine appointment for me, and it was so beautiful because it was like for my birthday, you know, sealing like this new year that I was stepping into. And I remember that a couple of crazy things happened, but the most significant moment, it was this lady that she was actually praying for someone else, and I was there and I was like joining in the prayer, and she was leaving and she left and she ran back and she goes, I have to be obedient. And this lady prayed over me for about 10 minutes, and that's a very long time, like someone prophesying over you for 10 minutes, you know. And she's like, I'm talking about, told me everything of who I am, what I was going through, the transition season that I was going through to the T. She even said things like, all he needs is your yes, like don't worry about the how.
Exactly.
And she even asked me, and what's crazy is because this part is super important, guys. Like when you're married, you are one. So she started to see my spouse in the spirit, but Joshua wasn't there, remember? So she was like, and since I look so young, she goes, are you dating someone? And I was like, I'm like, I'm actually married. And she's like, oh my gosh, I saw it in the spirit, you know, who he was. And she started describing him, like not his appearance, but like his characteristics and who he is, and like the calling that God has over his life. And that was legit, like everything that God has always spoken over him through others and to him directly, you know. And once again, like for us to just trust completely, like details that only Jesus would know. And this lady was a complete stranger to me. She was actually traveling there from Georgia. She wasn't even a local. Like, it's just crazy how God will put you in the right place at the right time
with the right people.
Yeah, with the right people. And without a shadow of a doubt in that moment, and also who I was with, like it just became so clear that God was moving me somewhere else. So I remember I called him like sobbing, FaceTime, and I was like, look at what just happened. That we were like, okay, like this is God, you know.
Well, yeah, you were like that, and
no, you in that moment, but then after that you still had doubts again.
Yeah, she jumped off the window. She was like, that's it.
Yeah. So I was like, you don't understand how clear it was.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, but it could be the emotions and stuff. Right. It's kind of like leveling it down.
So we waited, and in June we took a visit again to the state.
Yeah.
And when we were over there, it was crazy.
It just felt so right. Like,
yeah, like I can't begin to explain it, but I was overwhelmed with emotion because I felt home. Remember I told you, I was like, I felt home. Like it was like that sense of belonging. Like this is like where the next step that God wants me to be, you know. And something that was so beautiful is because we come from a Hispanic church. Like that is like what we grew up in, like everything that we know. And now God is transitioning us to an American church, but for some reason he has done like this awakening in that church with the Hispanic church. Like God has united them and like given them certain connections. So when we went there, they were actually doing a recording of an album that was bilingual.
Exactly.
And it was so beautiful. Like everything came full circle.
Full circle moment.
For us to see, like, you know, where we came from and like where we're going, and have them smash together, because truly that is the body of Christ. That, you know, that is like his desire for us to be united, you know. So it's so beautiful. In that process, I took the step of faith, and like for those of you that don't know, I'm actually a teacher. So to transfer certifications and everything is a lot, you know. It was a lot
of paperwork,
a lot of moving things around, calling people and all this stuff. So at first I remember that I was like so stressed out with a giant in front of me, But then I was like, all right, let me just take it step by step. Like God connected me to somebody over there and like send me all the information that I needed to do. So I started transferring things, and like what I just wanted to point out is acceleration. Sorry guys if there's a little bit of a frame change. The memory card was full. But I was saying how basically like miraculous things started happening with my whole career process. Things that were supposed to take 60 days happen in 1 day, overnight. Like things that were 14 days, again 1 day, like, or 1 hour. I remember something was 1 hour and they told me that it was going to take a process. It was just crazy, like the acceleration that was happening, and I was like, okay God, like I knew you were serious, but
slow it down a little bit.
Like I'm not ready for this. So once everything with my career passed, like I started like looking for jobs, and then immediately started getting phone calls.
She applied, like she put on her resume probably on Saturday or Sunday, and like that next week she had a job. Right? Wasn't it? It was that quick.
Yeah, it was within a week. And I'm at my job now getting phone calls, emails. Remember I was telling you like, oh my God, another phone call.
You did like 4 interviews in 2 days?
Yeah, and then one of them was like a whole panel of people, and that's the school that I specifically wanted. And I told him, I was like, oh, my heart is so set. Like, you remember? Yeah. I was like, my heart is so set on that school.
Isn't she the cutest?
And then he's like, oh, but you can't close yourself off. Like, what if God has a different opportunity? Because all of them were really great, right?
So we're two. There was
between
two.
Yeah. He really wanted another one, right? Yeah. And then I was like, but whatever God wants for me. But in my mind, I'm like, I want that one, whatever. And it was cool that I was able to say that out loud, and then people were able to witness that God in the move, because that's the school that called me. That was the school that called me. They were so sweet. They offered me the job. And then it was so funny, they were like, you can start as soon as Monday. And I was like, whoa, hold up. We're not moving till December. Ooh, you guys hadn't heard that info. Yeah. We're not moving till December, so not yet. And they were willing to even wait for me. It was crazy.
Backtrack. Yeah. So she hadn't gotten the job yet. So this was before she applied. And I'm just like, I'm still kind of just doubting. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it seems kind of impossible. Like, it's just such a huge step. Like, oh man, like this is really, really big. So I was just like, I don't know, God, if you're talking, I wanted him to come down in a white horse and tell me, you feel me? Like straight up.
Another confirmation.
So I was like, I just want another confirmation. Like if you say I want these specific, like I want you to say this, like not just, oh, I think you're transitioning or this like that. Like I wanted specific words, like, actually you're moving, that's it, this is the time that for you to leave, blah, 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 Whatever. So fast forward, my pastor's pastor came down, so our grandfather pastor, spiritual pastor.
We always call him.
Yeah, spiritual grandfather. He comes down and he's just like, he always comes down and preaches, so there's nothing like different about that. And it was basically a normal Sunday. The only thing was, it was just that he was coming to preach, but I mean, that happens pretty often, not pretty often, but like, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So I'm in the back, and then Ellie, she's practicing for worship, so she's doing the sound check, she's doing all of that. And then I see him, he goes up to Ellie, and then I guess you tell me.
So he goes, before you guys start, like I have a word for you. And I was like, oh Lord. Yeah. Mind you, I was very burdened in that period. Remember, we're just sharing the highlights with you guys, but it was a lot on us emotionally, physically, spiritually, like just like not wanting to do the wrong move, like we really wanted to hear the voice of God. And I mean, truly we're so hard on ourselves, because the worst that can happen is we fall on our face, and God is so merciful and we come back to where we were, you know what I mean? But still, like I've always cared so much. He cares so much about us just doing the will of God. So we were very, very burdened, like I said, spiritually, physically, mentally.
Like, we just so exhausted at that point.
Like, yeah, we were just so exhausted. So much happening in our lives on top of our regular jobs, our families, everything. Like obviously, like how they feel about the situation matters to us as well. Like all these things, like you gotta juggle all these things when you're making a decision, So but at the end of the day, God has the last word, and he knew exactly what word we needed to hear in a precise moment to just like give us that to lift that burden off our shoulders, to give us that joy and that excitement for what's to come, right? So that morning, he's like about to preach, so the last thing I'm gonna think is that he's gonna call me. He's like, oh, before we get started, like I have a word for you. And he laid hands on me and just told me everything that we're going through and confirmed that we are leaving.
Yeah, like there was like no, like he said, God told him specifically that that's it. Our time here is up. That's it. Like we needed to go and we needed to be obedient to the word of God. He said it in way more beautiful words because he's just an excellent man.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's amazing, but
but when I tell you, my face was on the floor.
Like all right, so whatever. So we go there. He comes to me. So after he spoke to her, he comes to me and he was like, look, you guys are burdened, and God is just telling you, like, give up everything, just give it, leave it like at his feet. And like, I felt something, but I need to talk to you more about it. Like, I have a word for you, but I need to talk to you more about it tomorrow. So he's like, when are you guys available? And it happened to be that I was free on that Monday. Well, I don't know what holiday was it, but it was some type of holiday. So mind you, he doesn't know anything about anything, like absolutely nothing. Like we never called them. Nobody had spoke to him. Nothing. So Monday comes and we go, and he's a really coffee guy, whatever. So he comes into our house and
we had the honor of him coming to
it was so dope. Yeah. He comes and he's like, guys, I just want to hear from you guys. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, he's like, tell me this crazy stuff that God is doing in your life.
Like he was just so excited, and I'm like, this is exactly what I need. And so we tell him what was going on, and he's like, oh my gosh, like God is so good. Like, yes,
that's it. He's spoken.
He's spoken with it. Like I said, there's no need for you guys to just like continue striving and like try to hear the word of God and just like hear his voice louder and stuff like that. Like go crazy. Like, oh God, I can't hear you. You know, like
he was like, just enjoy yourself.
He's like, enjoy the season. Like, spend time with your family. Like, your time is gone. Like, God said it so clear to me. Like, your time here in this church is done. Like, for now. You know,
for now. Like meaning like. He said, this is how he always preaches about this. He's like, God works in seasons. And like, seasons not like how we think. A season could be 3 months, 6 months, 10 years. Like, 1 year. It doesn't matter. Like, it just means that like, that's how he works.
What matters is that you take that step first. That's it. After that, you don't worry about anything else. Like, you know, of course you want to handle the physical things, jobs and stuff like that, but God will provide at the end of the day. So he just tells us, he's like, look, like I felt it so strong. I know like God was something like that's it. Like I saw the burdens that was like on Ellie, because that was the first time he spoke with her. Not the first time he spoke with her, but that was the first time on that Sunday he spoke with her. And he was just like, that's it. Like, you guys need to go. Like, you guys need to obey God, and this is from God. Like, go. God will provide. God will start applying for jobs. God will open the doors. You guys just need to go. Like, that's it. Like, it is done. And that confirmation, that's it. After that, it was just like joyful, like that's it. There was just no question for me, for my part. She was just flying out the window, just like like that. And I'm just like, no, I still need to hear. I'm like, oh, like God, talk to me. So yeah, so after that, it was just like an excitement, just like a joy, like a supernatural joy, just peace, like fell in the heart. And also shout out to Daniel, because shout out to Daniel because he pulled me aside when we went to LA. Daniel Tay, you probably are gonna be watching. He pulled me down, he pulled me out, like pulled me aside, and he was just like, bro, I see Ellie, and I see Ellie like she's like a caterpillar trying to break out and fly like a butterfly. And he's like, you guys need to move just for her. Like he's like, just for her. Maybe you're not feeling it, but for her, it's your time. Like as a husband, just to protect her, you need to let her fly. Like that's it. Like you need to, like, I don't know what you think God is saying, but like this is what I feel like God is telling you. And he just like spoke life into me, and he's just excellent. So shout out to you, Daniel. I love you, bro.
We love you guys so much. We haven't mentioned them in this video, but they had a huge part in what God was doing, speaking.
Like they did it, we could do it.
Like we saw God doing it in their lives, and we're like, wait, hold up. Like, and their story is completely different, but you know, like but what I'm saying is that God allowed us to witness that, like to give us hope, kind of like what he wanted to do in our lives. Oh, and also I want to mention that like when he's saying that I was flying out the window and stuff like that, like it wasn't an emotional sense. Like it was that I was just, that confidence that I had was because I remember I would tell you, I'm like, this is how like he's always spoken to me, you know, like I felt like like situations around me or people around me were kind of starting to make me doubt my Jesus. Like I remember that I would tell him, I'm like, that's my Jesus. Like I'm like, he has always spoken to me in this way, and a pastor actually talked to him about that, saying how like God will always speak to you in the way that he typically speaks to you. You know,
not always, but typically.
Okay, will typically speak to you in a way that's familiar to you.
Exactly.
You know, and he was speaking to me in such precise ways. Like he uses specific words that I say, specific, like it's just too specific for me.
And I think that confidence comes from your quiet place with God.
Yeah.
That's where that confidence comes from. Like, you know, where your Father speaks. Like, it's like, okay, this is where God speaks.
Yeah,
you know
it's not something you can really explain.
Exactly.
You know?
And I'm just skeptic about everything, like, right? Just like question everything.
That's how you are.
Yeah, that's just my personality, but she has a different personality and I just had to accept it. But so going back to where we were at the apartment, whatever, he told me, we were speaking with him and he was like, you know what's crazy is that I didn't know anything about it on Sunday. Actually, Monday morning before meeting us, that's when my mom tells him that we're going to blank blank. Yeah. So he didn't know he didn't know anything. Wow. On Sunday. He didn't know anything on Sunday. Monday, 24 hours later, is when my mom tells him about it.
For anyone that doesn't believe God exists,
exactly,
listen to that.
Like, there's no way, we don't speak with him constantly. There's no way that he knows anything unless God spoke to him. So after that, it was just like putting boots on the ground and getting to work.
Right.
Like,
so after that's when I applied for the job. Sorry.
I think you applied for the job. Then we did another trip like 2 weeks ago. We flew back, we went to go watch apartments and we looked at like 10 like 5. Like, I'm not exaggerating, like 5 or 6 apartments.
And I have some behind the scenes on that I'm gonna post.
Oh yeah. So you'll see it like come up or whatever. And after that we went there for 24 hours. So it was a crazy day. We went there like early morning and we got back the next day early morning. So it was just so exhausting. But it was great because there was some apartments that God is just so good, because I was like, we don't technically need to be there, we can just look it up online, like see what it is.
Never do that, guys.
It comes like, yeah, you should want to go. You would go and just check it out, whatever. So we got our apartment, let's go. And we got our apartment, guys, in the same price range, the same bedroom, like bedroom and bath that we wanted. Yeah,
no, we had very specific prayer requests to God about what we wanted, the space, the amount of rooms, like how I want the kitchen to look, the flooring, everything.
And we got a campfire. Not campfire, what is it?
Wait, fireplace. We got a fireplace.
She wanted a fireplace, the guy got her a fireplace.
Yeah, I wanted a fireplace from the get, but I didn't let that be a make it or break it thing for me. So actually every apartment that we looked at didn't have a fireplace. And this one that we ended up getting, we didn't know it had a fireplace until we walked in for the walkthrough. And I remember I was like, this has a fireplace? And they were like, every single one has one. I was like, what?
And she was like, this is ours. And I was like, yes. So it's gonna be so dope because we're going to, well, I mean, that's beyond the point. But basically, we're gonna have a space where we can film, guys. So she'll be able to film it.
And our family can visit, stay, friends.
Everything.
We're also gonna be like decorating it a little bit different. So stay tuned for that.
Just just bigger places, more love in the air.
Okay. Well, anyways, I just wanted you guys to hear our testimony and just to kind of hear our heart behind this whole thing, and we're just so excited for what God has in store. We truly don't even know. We don't have any family. We have some friends that we just met there from, like, you know, but nothing. We're not familiar with anything, but God is gonna be so good, and we're just believing God for more in this area. And we just feel like, shall we say it?
Drum roll, please. Where we're going? We are going to Dallas, Texas. Let's go.
I'm so excited.
Hit that subscribe button, guys. Hit that subscribe button.
Guys, this is gonna be such a crazy season, and we're gonna take you guys along with us.
Yes,
I'm so excited. I love you.
Give me a kiss.
Look at his hat hair.
Hat hair, guys. Just for the hat here, hit that subscribe button.
All right, thank you guys for watching. We will see you in our next video.
Yes.
Bye.